Okay. First question. When you were a kid, what did you want to do when you grew up?
When I was a kid, what did I want to do when I grew up? Pretty much exactly what I'm doing. I wanted to be a novelist. I didn't know a whole lot about being a columnist, so that wouldn't have been part of the equation, but essentially I just knew that I wanted to write. I wanted to write and be paid for it, I should say. I wanted to write professionally because I was actually writing very young as a child, but I wanted to find a way to be able to make a living out of it. So I wanted to do what I'm doing and be what I am. So I'm very pleased.
And they told me that they think they know your answer on this one.
Okay, sure.
Facebook or Twitter?
Which answer did they tell you that it might be?
Twitter.
Facebook or Twitter? Twitter, most definitely. Facebook, I post my columns to Facebook for readers who follow me there, but Twitter I like because it's fast and it's not as much of a time consumption.
Who would you say has influenced you the most?
Depends on what we're talking about. As a writer, as a person?
Let's say as a person.
Mom, I guess.
As a writer?
There's a couple. There's Stan Lee and there's Stephen King. Probably the two most influential writers.
That's great.
Yeah, I know that's a pretty broad.
That's broad.
Yeah, but you asked.
That's true.
Stan Lee, Stephen King, in that order.
With so many people getting the news online, what's the future of print?
The future of print? Mm-hmm. The future of print is grim. I keep telling them I hope they can keep the ship afloat long enough for me to retire. And I advise the younger people in my industry to develop other skills or storytelling skills that transcend the medium. That said, I will say that we've seen something interesting happening in just the past month or two since the election. I'm told that subscriptions are up to print newspapers, and I'm hearing from my readers, and colleagues of mine are also hearing from readers that they really value us and they consider us their final line of defense against whatever the autocracy that seems to be taking shape. So I find that really, really, really interesting to hear from people. I love it, but I also ask them, where were you 10 years ago when people started getting laid off? We could have used you then.
Name the last album that you purchased.
Last album I purchased. It's going to be kind of a deceptive answer because it would have been 2 Four Tops albums. Catfish, which is a really bad album, and I'll tell you why I purchased it in a second. And It's the Way Nature Planned It. And I purchased Catfish because it's like the dumbest song ever, and but it was a hit. And I was talking to my son and his wife about the song, and I don't think they believed it existed. So I bought the whole darn album because I'm a completist like that, and I played them a little bit of Catfish just so they could know I don't need to make these things up.
That's great. Best tip for raising informed children?
That's a good question. If you find an answer to that, let me know. I think it's hard these days for kids not to be informed just because of the news, the media, not even the news media. The news media are sort of ubiquitous and all over the place. The problem is raising kids who are informed with actual facts. And one of the things that I've done with particularly my middle son is when he brings me some amazing thing that he thinks he's seen somewhere online, is to challenge him to go back and be able to document it with some reputable source, which oftentimes he's unable to do. He knows at this point not to even bring me anything that came from some skanky website because I'm not even going to pay attention to it. So I'm trying to teach him and the rest of my kids to be wary and aware of the sources of your information.
So the onus is on them.
Yeah, the onus has got to be on them. You have to be an informed consumer of media these days. You can't just be a passive consumer because not all media are created equal. Once upon a time, back when I was a boy, back in the horse and buggy days, when we had 3 television networks and a daily newspaper, they were all pretty much reliable. You could go to CBS, NBC, or ABC, and you could be pretty much sure you were getting the the facts. The same does not hold true when you're going to various and sundry websites. You may be getting the facts, or you may be getting somebody's spin on the facts, because these places don't have the same gatekeeper function that the newspapers, that the old broadcast television networks had. They don't have some editor whose job it is to make sure that what's put on there is, one, factual and true, fair and balanced, as they say.
Is there a website that you visit that you like to go to, one of these online sites that you feel does a good job?
Most of the websites I visit are websites that are attached to legacy, what are called legacy media. So yeah, the CNN.com and NewYorkTimes.com, WashingtonPost.com. Beyond that, I'm real leery about those websites, those entities that exist only in cyberspace. I have learned to not that I ever pick up a lot of columns from them, but I do give TMZ some credit, because they were the first people to break the Michael Jackson death. They broke it before anybody, and they've broken it in a number of other stories. So, although most of their stuff is pretty outlandish and celebrity-oriented, I do trust that most of what they're saying is going to have some basis in fact. So there's them. There's BuzzFeed. Was it BuzzFeed? I think it was. I may be wrong. They had they ran this long letter from this young lady who had been raped, and her rapist got 6 months, I think it was. They ran this long, very affecting letter. So I have less of a grain of salt now when I approach them, but there's still a little bit of grain of salt.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.